Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Getting to Know Our Heavenly Family. You know who I am at this point, and happy to be here with you guys on this rainy Monday morning, speaking with you about yet another member of the Heavenly Family. Today, we're going to be talking about Saint Antonio de Sant'Anna Galvao. That is quite a mouthful, and I apologize. My Portuguese pronunciation is not as good as my pronunciation in other languages, so when we're dealing with Portuguese or Brazilian saints, my pronunciation isn't the best, but it's good practice for the World Cup coming up next month when we have to pronounce all those names of those Brazilian soccer players, right? So, anyways, this was an 18th century saint, as I said, from Brazil. He was born and grew up near Sao Paulo. Now, he originally attended a Jesuit seminary, but then later on changed his mind. He switched sides in the great spirituality debate between Jesuits and Franciscans. He decided to go and become a Franciscan. Of course, that's playful. Jesuit spirituality and Franciscan spirituality, both beautiful and work well for different people. He joined the Franciscans, was ordained in the year 1761. He made his final vows as a brother in 1761 and was ordained a priest 1 year later. Now, during the course of his priestly duties, he was a number of things, one of which was a porter, which is basically the person who watched the door. So one of the things that I do here in the rectory office, I guess, could be described as a porter as well, letting people in, welcoming them into the friary. He also served as a teacher, and he was renowned for his skill as a confessor. And he was actually the confessor to a group of nuns who lived in the city. Now, one of the things that I've heard from a number of priests is kind of a joke, is hearing the confessions of nuns is like being killed by paper cuts, because of course we we know that on the whole our religious sisters and brothers live very good and holy lives, so their sins oftentimes are not particularly great, and you hear a number of things, I'm sure, that are not not to quite the level that you hear from other folks because of the great holiness of these religious women. So just a little joke in there that I've heard. But anyway, he was the confessor for a group of nuns, and he and one of the nuns there decided that they wanted to start another religious community for women. And so during the course of St. Antonio's priestly duties, while he was doing all of these other things, he and Sister Maria, one of the nuns that he was the confessor for, worked together to set up this other convent for women. Now, that wasn't the only thing that he did. He also started two other friaries, the St. Francis Friary and the St. Clare Friary in Sao Paulo itself. So he was a busy guy. When Sister Maria died a few years later, St. Antonio was left basically on his own to run this convent, or basically to get this order, this new religious community of women up and running. And he did so with aplomb. And he was so devoted to this ministry, to this new group, that as a matter of fact, in his last days, he was allowed to spend his dying days at this convent and to pass away at that convent, which he did peacefully. So he's a very hard worker, started multiple friaries, was a great teacher, great confessor, started a religious community of women down there in Brazil, and it ended up running it by himself for quite some time. He died and was canonized in 2007, so a fairly recent canonization by Pope Benedict XVI. Always interesting to hear about saints who were canonized recently, because they are, I suppose, newly confirmed members of our Heavenly Family, but we should get to know them too. So thank you for watching another episode of Getting to Know Our Heavenly Family. We'll be right back here next Monday morning with the next episode. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.